Hi there, welcome back to another CMA video. I'm Marek and today I'll be walking you through the steps to bleed Shimano Di2 dual control levers. Unlike bleeding non-Di2 hydraulic STI levers, this process is a bit different. If you're interested in bleeding non-Di2 dual control levers, you can check out my video tutorial here. Alright, if you're all set, let's get started. Tools required. Bike stand. Set of Allen keys. Small flathead screwdriver. Pair of pliers. Shimano mineral oil. Shimano bleed kit. For Di2 dual control hydraulic levers, use the funnel unit for the M7 screw or the M5 to M7 funnel adapter. Rubber covered or plastic lever. Bleed block. Isopropyl alcohol. Clean rag or paper towel. Velcro strap. Gloves. Safety glasses. Preparation. Put the bike on a stand so that the position between the brake lever and the caliper is as vertical as possible. Remove the appropriate wheel. I've made a video tutorials on removing the front and rear wheels, which you can find here. You can also find links to these videos in the description below. For the rear brake, detach the caliper from the frame. This will allow for easier travel of the trapped air bubbles from the caliper to the lever. Use a pair of pliers to remove the snap retainer from the pad axle. Use a 3mm Allen key to unscrew and remove the pad axle from the caliper. Remove the brake pads. Take care not to touch the braking surface, as you can contaminate the pads. Using a rubber-coated lever, push the pistons back into the caliper. Fit the bleed block in between the pistons. Lift the rubber hood. And using a 2.5mm Allen key, remove the bleed screw and the O-ring. Attach the bleed port. Don't add the brake fluid yet. It's time to put the lever in the correct position to successfully remove all the trapped air bubbles from the system. Undo the stem plate bolts. And move the handlebar to position the lever so that the bleed port is vertical. Tighten the handlebars. If you have the ST-RX815 GRX dual control lever, then position it so that the bleed port is angled at around 45 degrees to the back of the bike. Brake bleeding. On the caliper, locate and remove the bleed port cap. And the bleed screw cap. Fill the syringe with the mineral oil. Attach the hose from the syringe to the caliper bleed point. And secure the syringe to the fork or the frame with a strap to prevent it from coming off. Remove the oil stopper from the funnel. Fit the 3mm Allen key in the bleed screw and gently loosen the screw slightly to allow for fluid flow. Press the syringe plunger to introduce mineral oil into the system. As you do so, the brake fluid will displace air, and you will observe the mineral oil, along with air bubbles, flowing through the funnel. Do not press the brake lever during this process, as it might push out fluid without removing air. For any Di2 dual control hydraulic lever apart from the STRS685 and STRX815, press the lever about 10 times. Now position the lever so that the funnel is angled at about 20 degrees towards the front of the bike. And press the lever again until no more bubbles appear. For the STRX815 GRX dual control lever, position the lever so that the funnel is angled at about 20 degrees towards the front of the bike. Fit the 3mm Allen key in the bleed screw and gently loosen the screw slightly. Press the syringe plunger. Continue the process until no more air bubbles are coming out and only pure brake fluid flows through the funnel. Once there are no more bubbles, tighten the bleed screw. Press the lever. It should feel stiff. If the lever still feels spongy, consider repeating the bleeding process. Set the lever so that the funnel is positioned vertically. Replace the syringe with an empty oil bag or bottle to collect mineral oil pushed from the funnel. Transfer the remaining mineral oil from the syringe back to the mineral oil container. Loosen the caliper bleed screw, allowing the brake fluid, along with air bubbles, to exit the caliper through the tube. During this process, keep an eye on the mineral oil level in the funnel. Top it up if necessary to prevent air from entering the system, which would prolong the bleeding process. Gently tap the brake caliper a few times to help remove the trapped bubbles. Once all the bubbles have been expelled, close the bleed screw to seal the caliper. Press the brake lever and use a strap to secure it to the handlebar. Open and close the bleed screw quickly 2 or 3 times to remove any remaining bubbles from the brake caliper. Release the lever. Cover the area around the caliper bleed point with a paper towel or rag and remove the tubing with the oil bag or bottle. Transfer the remaining mineral oil from the bag or bottle to a separate container for proper disposal or storage. Use isopropyl alcohol and a rag or paper towel to clean the caliper, removing any residue of mineral oil. Refit the bleed screw cap and the bleed pod cap. For the STRX815 GRX dual control lever, position the lever so that the funnel is angled at about 45 degrees towards the back of the bike. Press the lever several times until normal bubbles appear in the funnel. Set the lever so that the funnel is positioned vertically. Insert the oil stopper into the funnel and unscrew the funnel anti-clockwise to detach it from the brake lever's reservoir. Transfer any remaining mineral oil from the funnel to a container. Refit the bleed screw into the bleed port. Use isopropyl alcohol and a rag or paper towel to thoroughly clean the lever, removing any remaining traces of mineral oil. Place the back of the rubber bracket cover back in place. Take out the bleed block. Install the brake pads back into the caliper. Place the pad axle back into position. And reattach the caliper spring clip. For the rear brake, reattach the brake caliper loosely to the frame. Refit the wheel. For the rear brake, it's time to adjust the caliper. I made a great video here if you need help with adjusting your hydraulic disc brake. There's also a link to this video in the description below. Check the performance of the brake by squeezing the lever. It should feel responsive and provide sufficient braking power. Dispose of the old mineral oil in your local hazardous waste disposal service. Thanks for staying with me all the way to the end. If you want to support the channel, then consider subscribing, liking the video and sharing it with your friends. And if you want to support even further, then consider a small donation through the Super Thanks button below the video. Thanks very much and see you very soon.